Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz. I'm excited you're here. I have something really cool to share with you. In a recent video, I made this perfume bottle gift box with a gold fill shaker. It's so cute and really elegant. And so off camera, I made 2 additional perfume bottles in coordinating colors. This is blue corn from Tailored Expressions. It's one of my all-time favorite colors. And I used it again for this super elegant perfume bottle case. You guys, I am so in love. Okay, so this is from Pixie Dust Designs. It's the Perfume Case Die set. It comes with all 3 of these. They come together. It's huge. And if you screenshot that, it will show you exactly how many pieces of each die you need to cut out. This is the die from Perfume Case B, and it is the case, like the basic structure of it. And I have flipped it over to the back, so the score lines are on the front. And I am folding all of those score lines as valleys. And you can see I have a small compartment and a large compartment. Then I am going to make sort of the lining for that square. So I have 2 identical pieces. I just took the same die, I cut it twice, and I am using white glitter cardstock. This is from Michael's, but I love it and it's pretty affordable and the glitter does not rub off. I am using double-sided tape to put this together. I'm folding all of those score lines in the same direction. If you were using regular cardstock, I highly recommend wet glue. It works beautifully for this project, but you know glitter cardstock is a pain. So I decided it was worth it. I decided to go for it. But I use a lot of double-sided tape in this video, and that's why I'm trying to work around the slick surface. I also cut 2 identical pieces for what will be the inside lining of the larger compartment. Now there is a little piece we'll add later that splits that larger compartment into 2. So you can get 1 space for each of the 3 perfume bottles, but it's also a beautiful size for a gift, right? You could put all kinds of little things in there. I am making this one for my sister who's fancy. She's fancy, you guys. She would probably laugh hysterically if she heard me say that. But she always gives me like lipsticks or face masks or like little beauty things I didn't know I needed. And I just, if it's not sweatpants, I probably didn't buy it. So anyway, I'm trying to make this real fancy for her. I am just fitting this inside and then I am going to add my wet glue 1 flap at a time. I watched Sandra, the owner, put this together in a video and she just used wet glue for the whole thing. And she did all 4 flaps and then she wiggled that white glitter piece, hers wasn't glitter, on the inside and it went beautifully and smoothly. I am not that coordinated. Also glitter card. So I am doing it 1 at a time, and what I do is I pull the flap down and I add my glue. So let's look at the next one here. I'm going to add my glue and then I am going to push the white glitter card flat flush against my mat and then run my fingers right along the navy cardstock to try to make sure both of them are flush against the same hard surface. Here I go. I'm running my finger along the navy cardstock. Then I flip it over to check the fit. I'm trying to make sure that all of those are lining up beautifully right up against the edge. And actually it wasn't too hard. I went slowly and took my time just because I wanted it to have a really nice finish. But it was, you guys, it was pretty slick. Okay. So I'm going to do this one as well. I needed to get that inside flap first. That one's the hardest to get to. So I added the glue before I ever wiggled that white piece on the inside. Okay. And then I will just work my way around and I am doing the same thing. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive here. It has a quicker grab than my Barely Art. Otherwise, the Barely Art, the precision tip would be really nice here. So I maybe should have ordered the precision tip for the Nuvo. I am just going to line all of those up. And then where I can, I'll use my bone folder to like right in between in that little strip of blue, right? I tuck my bone folder in there to try to make sure I had everything sealed up well. The flaps are going to overlap right in that middle piece. So I have double-sided adhesive on both because glitter. And I released one of them to stick those together. And then this is the back. The back fits beautifully. Like it's real easy to put on. And if I wanted navy blue in the back, that's all I would do. I would add glue to the flaps and slap it down. But I decided I also wanted glitter card on the back. So I have double-sided adhesive on all of those flaps. And I would have done that even if it was the back, just because it's hard to get it to stick well. And I am just going to add my glitter card right over the back of that. And that measures, I think, 8.5 by 3.25, right? So it's just a little smaller, a little shorter and narrower than the back flap. Okay, so now that's on there really, really well. I'm going to take my scissors, and I have some extra of that flap sticking off. I'm going to trim it, but that is totally not necessary unless you didn't center a back panel like I did. And I was worried later about putting the caps on the end. So normally I would just leave those alone. I'm using double-sided adhesive and wet glue to add this next piece. I line up my corners, the first corner, I flip it over, and then I line up the next corner, and I know I'm going to have a real straight seam. Okay, again, I line up one corner and then the next one, and it's super easy. And because I put just a little bit of wet glue, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. On the first one, I had to pull part of it back up, but I also have that quicker grab that I don't get with glue. Okay, it's a little extra. I'm a little extra sometimes. You could certainly do it with just wet glue or just dry adhesive. I added a little bit of glue. I just sort of shoved the bottle in there and squirted a little extra glue because I wanted the back panel to sit flush against that white glitter card. Normally it would. You would have glued it straight to the inside of the box, but I didn't. So I have these two caps, the little pieces, and then I have two doors. The doors come from my set of dies in Perfume Case C, right? But the caps come from A. You've got to start digging into C early. You don't have to add the doors, but if you want to, now is the time. Otherwise, you're going to have the flap for the door on the very back of the case. So I am going to add glue inside the case, and I am going underneath that back panel of glitter card. I left that room on purpose, okay? And only that very back flap, which isn't very long, is going in there. Okay, and I'm going to line that up. I'm going to try to get a really nice crease, and I'm closing the door. I'm trying to make sure the front of the door fits well, because if you stick that too far in there, then your door is like kind of trying to stretch to cover the case. Okay, so this worked pretty well. I'm going to show you a second way on the other door. The way I'm showing you right now is the way it was taught to me, and I think it works well, and I think it's easier for beginners. The second way gave me a slightly better finish, I think. I'm going to add glue inside on all four sides. You could add it to the flaps, but I'm a gluey mess, right? I am not a delicate human. And so for me, this helped keep the glue contained on the inside. I didn't want it ending up on my navy cardstock. Sometimes when you're using a really dark cardstock, even though the glue dries clear, it shows up a little. So I am fitting that inside. Again, I'm closing the door. I'm checking to make sure that it's far enough inside that it's not causing that door to bow. I pushed it slightly farther than I wanted, so I just used my pokey tool and pulled that back out, and now I'm checking the door, and that fits pretty well. Okay, and you can see it's flush against all of those sides. I have 4 pieces that I cut from the same die that are going to create the rest of that door. And when we put this together, the door stays closed beautifully. Like, I just can't get over how well designed this die set is. So I'm adding glue on my 2 sides, and then I'm going to line that up, okay? And I am just trying to get it to be straight against the lid or the door that is opening, the top of the door, okay? So then I'm going to turn it. I'm going to add it to the other side. I am not as careful here with my glue as I am in some other places. I was worried about it oozing on the inside. I'm not worried about it on the outside because there are some decorative pieces that I'm going to add later that'll cover that up. For this one, I am adding glue on 3 sides, not the back. I am not adding it on the back. And I'm going to add my cap in here. I have left the back free of glue so that I can still add my door. But what happens now is that it's a little easier to get a clean fit with that cap, and I can slide the door in here. So I put glue inside of there and I put it on the flap, And what's happening is I can get the fit just perfect so that this door is not going to have to pull over the top of cardstock that I wasn't sure quite how far out it was going to come. Okay, so I like the second way a little bit better, but it's two options for you. There is a piece, this guy here is going to create another divider for the inside of our box. So I am folding along all of the score lines. I'm just folding them all as mountain folds, and then I will glue them shut. This is so quick and easy to put together. The two long pieces that I'm going to glue together are exactly the same size. And so if I just push it closed as far as it goes, it's perfect. So I'm just holding it and gluing it and giving it a second to dry. I want this piece to match the other divider. So I'm also adding two little pieces of glitter card. They're 2 3/4 by 1 1/8. And I am going to add my glue. And when I set this on there, I'm looking for where that seam is on the long edge. And that's my back. And I'm pressing this against my hard surface to make sure my glitter card is as far down, like right against my black mat on the back edge as it gets. I don't want a little strip of navy blue peeking out at the back of my box because I didn't get the glitter card far enough down. So I'm going to wiggle this into place and the fit is perfect. It is just snug enough that I do not need to add any glue. I don't have to worry about sticking something else to my glitter card. And I'm going to give this to my sister if she decides to re-gift it. And I always encourage people to do that with a handmade gift. She can pull that out and then she's got this little area for a gift if she wants. It just makes it super, super versatile. These two little pieces I cut from some gold mirror card. There are 2 of those dies in the set, so you don't have to cut it twice. And I already had some extra with some double-sided adhesive on the back, but glue would work fine for that too. Not a big deal. I cut these 2 pieces as our decorative pieces for the door, and then I embossed it. This is the geometric screen or the geo screen embossing folder from Spellbinders. This is my go-to. Like if I'm making something elegant, geo screen all the time. And I am shellacking it on there with my Beacon 3-in-1. If you've been with me any length of time, you know that when I am adding something embossed, I like the Beacon because it's a solvent-based glue. So I'm not adding any water to it. It's not going to warp. It's not going to make anything soggy. But especially for a 3D project like this, the solvent-based glue will dry and harden. And so it's really strengthening the doors, right? I know they're going to get a lot of movement and activity. I don't want anything to happen to them. Yes, I'm using 100-pound cardstock. Yes, I'm doubling it up. But you add a little Beacon 3-in-1 in there, and this thing is practically indestructible. And I come from a family where practically indestructible is sort of a requirement. So I am adding my last of the 4 panels on, and then I have 2 more that are going to go on either end. All right, question of the day. Who's the fanciest friend you have or family member? Like, who is this the perfect gift for? Obviously, I've got my sister in mind, but I have a friend, my friend Tony. I would totally give this to Tony too. I think she would just adore this because she loves pretty things. This is our case. I'm so in love with it. The 2 doors open and we have this beautiful glitter cardstock inside, and these perfume bottles fit just perfectly. If you haven't watched the perfume bottle video, check it out. You don't have to add the top of the bottle on there. You can just have these as teeny tiny little gift boxes. I'm thinking about doing like an Advent something with them, obviously in the fall, but I have plans. I have many, many plans. I close the doors. I've got just that little bit of gold fill peeking through. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.